Hello and welcome to another edition of Just Unsecure series on information and cybersecurity matters as it relates to Africa. My name is Babs and my co-host OO. We're information and cybersecurity enthusiasts and evangelists. Welcome to today's edition where we'll be talking about top news for the month of May, focusing on all the following areas such as breaches, vulnerabilities, and attacks. And we have a very good topic for you guys today where we will talk about interesting and so do hang on. And before we go ahead, don't forget to subscribe so you always get test news every time we release it. Okay, Yemi, anything for our viewers?
Yeah, we're happy to have your viewers. You're welcome again. We hope to give you top news in this episode. And I hope you've enjoyed our past episodes. If you haven't, look at those series. I will encourage you to check them up now, and you'll find them really interesting, informative as well. So welcome to this ride.
Cool. So like I said, our first topic is going to be looking at the vulnerabilities we looked at was the Cisco HyperFlex web interface vulnerability. It has a critical flaw that lets attackers get root and execute arbitrarily commands. This has been deemed critical by Cisco themselves. So there are actually two CVs. I'll read out the two CVs for you guys and talk a little bit about it. So one of the CVs, CVE 2021-1497, that impacts the HyperFlex HX installer virtual machine and means an unauthenticated remote attacker could perform a command injection attack on a web management console that gives them root access and allows them to execute arbitrary commands on an affected device. This is classified as a very critical vulnerability. So patches are available, so it will be very, very advisable for all our viewers who are using this particular Cisco device to actually patch. You want to take the other CVE?
Absolutely. On the other vulnerability that we have seen is for Dell users, for Dell servers. Those kernel privileges bugs have been identified. This was posted during the beginning of the month, and a lot of both for laptops, for servers, for desktops needs to be patched up. And this is undisclosed for 12 years. So this has always existed in the hardware. So this is a pivotal, and this, according to Sentinel Labs, this, when it's compromised, the attacker goes through network laterally from the hardware level, from the servers or desktop. They just go laterally and continue to affect and infect and compromise other network devices as well. So I think our users and those who are managing critical infrastructure, security infrastructure, should look at closing this loop ASAP.
Okay, and just also to update on that particular vulnerability, they have 5 major bugs, and the CV for that one is CV 2021-21551, and that is actually a severity rating of 8.8. So everyone using a Dell, especially if you're using a Dell from version 2.3 upwards, it's very, very advisable to ensure that it's updated. There are millions of Dell devices out there, and not everybody is going to patch, but if you listen to this pod or you know people that might be using the Dell drivers that have version 2.3 upwards, it will be advised that you actually patch. Also, you can there's a Dell advisory, I think it's 2021-088, which also gives you more information about the vulnerability and the patch level.
Great.
So Okay, so we have another one which is of interest as well. Is the Nagios IT monitoring vulnerability chained to compromise customers in mass. So as we all know, Nagios is a tool within the, I say, IT general IT tool used,
majorly used for network monitoring. Yeah.
Exactly. So that is a. Do you want to give us more information about that vulnerability? To be honest.
Yeah, this vulnerability was actually found out by security researchers in Australia in Skylight. They call Skylight. So they detailed how this multiple 13 vulnerabilities last October, and many people who have looked at this vulnerability, each of them, that means individually, have seen that it might not be a big deal. But what these researchers have done is to chain multiple of these together. And in fact, they've actually released a post-exploitation open source tool called Solgon, so that to demonstrate that this can be used. Luckily enough, Nagios itself has patched this recently, and I think people should quickly go ahead and patch it. This is an active vulnerability and can be easily exploited, even with an open source tool that have been released. So this shows like, if you have not done it already, you should do it right away. So part of what the flaws have been identified is cross-site scripting flaw. You have privilege escalation as well. You have information disclosure bug, and you have the authenticated remote access execution code. So this is really vital, and know that millions of devices, including IoT devices, especially when you come to the telecom environment, not to call one out, but when you come to the telecom environment, this, you cannot imagine when it's scaled to all cell sites, this is really a big vulnerability to be addressed immediately.
Oh, nice to know. But those one, the other areas we're looking at now, the breaches. There are many breaches that happen, but I think there's an interesting one, which is the third-party hack in the Canada Post reveals supplier data breach involving shipping information of almost 950,000 parcel recipients. And if you listen to some of our previous posts, we've always talked about third-party security assessment. It's I know it might be a bore, but it's always good to ensure you do your third-party security assessment to also ensure that whoever is delivering services to you actually takes security as serious as you. Like I said, you're only as good as your weakest link, and most of the vulnerabilities occurring right now are basically from third parties that are trusted getting into the organization. So the cyber attack on the third party supply, which is obviously Canada Post, has resulted in a data breach impacting almost, like I said, 950,000 parcel recipients. The state-owned postal service has announced that May 26th, a couple of days ago. I don't want to keep boring down about it, but it led to a malware attack against the Comport Communication, a provider of the electronic data interchange service. The supplier notified the Canada Post a week earlier on May 19 that manifest data held in the system, which was associated with some of Canada Post customers that be compromised. So again, data out there by third party not being security assessed leads to compromise of data and much more because of the information people have right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always essential, as you've always say, you need to look at your supplier. You need to make sure they are secure and they are able to disclose to you as well, even when they are compromised. That is why I'll give kudos to the partner of Post Canada that they were able to disclose that.
Yeah.
Next one is the what we titled as "Be Checking Your Pulse." So there's a Chinese APT actor that's compromising the Pulse Secure VPN. We've talked about this So post-secure VPN is a VPN devices at the edge for you. And this was discovered by FireEye, and FireEye is operating a particular solution now, more like a service that we call Mediant, which is more of the research for them. So people need to look at this. So there's a lot of things that are happening, including reverse engineering on the FLAIR team. Have identified 4 additional code that the Chinese APT actors have embedded, and these have to be looked at. Espionage activity by the group, which is the UNC, that is the Chinese APT, USC 2630, UNC 2717. This needs to be looked at. So while there's evidence of data theft at many organizations, we have not said they have not directly observed the staging or exfiltration of any data by Chinese espionage actor, but this have to be looked into, especially this is at the edge, VPN. Wow. This needs to be addressed.
I think even following that, in the APTs, I think the FBI just issued the warning about Fortinet. We also spoke about some vulnerabilities in our previous episode for, I think, is it April or March, where we talked about some vulnerabilities that were released by Fortinet. Right now, the FBI is actually stating that those vulnerabilities have actually been used by threat actors, to compromise government organizations. And that's serious, because it means some government organizations, not even just in Africa, imagine in Europe and America themselves, do not update or take notice of all the vulnerabilities being listed. So these vulnerabilities are the Fortinet vulnerabilities. And if anyone is using Fortinet, we would advise that you ensure that you go through the vulnerabilities, especially the CVEs, which is the CV 2020-12812 and the CV 2019-5591 and the CV 2018-13379. Remember, like I said, as at least May 2021, the FBI and the CISA previously warned in April, which when we did our post, we mentioned this, that the APT actors had gained access to devices on different ports, the 4443, if I remember, and the 8443, as well as the 10443. And this affects the Fortinet OS. So it's good to take the CVs down and look at them and see whether or not within your organization, especially if you're using Fortinet devices, these are things that have been patched. So that's one thing to look at from an APT perspective.
If you remember, Babs, we've even mentioned that some of these vulnerabilities have been patched since like October, September last year, 2020. But a lot of companies are still lacking behind even. And this is the major problem in the enterprise. The patch period is always there's no serious method to it, with the fact that the technology have developed. And I think our users, our listeners, our subscribers, people that are managing critical infrastructure in Africa should look into proper patch management, timely patch management.
Absolutely.
The next one is on mobile. Over 40 apps with more than 100 million installed have been found to leak AWS keys. That means Amazon Web Services keys. So you can imagine how diverse that is. And I know a lot of it are also in Africa. That is a whopping 40 mobile apps. Most mobile app users tend to blindly trust. We just check everything. Yeah. Let's go on.
But my question is, this has to do with secure coding as well, because if Absolutely. You do not, it's a flaw in you actually hard coding any key within your code, because especially if those code can lead to identity and management access within the infrastructure. Because if you have the keys hard coded and those keys are linked to your organization. What you're doing now is having a pathway into your organization. So keys are used for authentication. So if I'm able to get keys that can authenticate me into your infrastructure, and that is your infrastructure trusts those keys, you're more or less giving the key to the kingdom. So secure coding is what I always advise people, like, go through your code, ensure you're doing best practice when you're coding. I was very surprised when I read about this. But is there any solution out there? Is there any way to ensure people do not either users themselves are secure, or ways people can go about ensuring that what they're downloading have security as well?
Yeah, when you look at from the top of the rack down, there are ways to probably do this, but it's just that it has not been done very well. One thing is looking at some of the guidelines that have been released already. You have OAuth Top 10, you have auto standards, you have configuration management solutions, you even have DevOps tools that can quickly do a rundown. But most people are not using it. That is one. And when you go to the platform, give it to Google, give it to Apple. Apple is much more stringent. Apple looks at permissions a lot, but this has to be with permissions, in which sometimes when user says check, I permit, it could mean something much serious. But this is even inherent in the application itself.
Exactly.
So again, this have to be done. Be Vigil, where individuals can actually search and check app security ratings and other security issues before installing an app. It's not being used by many people. So that's why I'll say it again, Be Vigil. The Vigil, users should be able to use that and say, okay, guess what? Let me check now.
Because the Vigil, I noticed the Vigil is a way for people to actually assess. So you are able to actually put in apps and say, okay, how secure is this app?
Exactly.
You can do it based on rating. You can do it based on category. You can do it based on the year it was released. So if anybody wants to know about how secure different apps are, try using the bevigil.com, BEVIGIL and .com, and you'll be able to assess some apps out there. You might have apps you were looking at and I'll go, oh, it's not that as secure as you may have thought. It's also good for coders who might want to reference other apps out in the field and see whether or not the apps are secure as they claim to be. So,
absolutely.
Interesting.
So the scary thing about this app is these 40 apps is the government do not need to ask you for permission to access your data. The app coders have definitely put their keys to encrypt your data embedded. So it's just like, I locked the door, but I left the key right there at the door. So, so as scary as that might be, so I need to run through all my apps as well, see how many of these are part of it, and probably do that, of course.
We have another one. There's a warning out there that the new Android, there are banking Trojans out there trying to steal user credentials. So we should all be careful about downloading apps that we are not aware of. It's called the Teapot, TEABOT, T-bot, to be corrected, or Anatsa. That's another nickname for it. It's a malware that attackers, or shall I say malicious people, are trying to get people to download on their phone. And once you download it, its sole purpose is to try to steal your login credentials as well as your SMS messages, because obviously most people use OTP or get some kind of passwords sent via SMS to their phone. So what they're trying to do is get your credentials for your banking details, as well as any other information that they'll be able to correlate and be able to log into your banking app. Again, once you have a malware on your phone, they can more or less take over the phone. So even if you're logging in and you're getting an OTP from the bank, they're able to get that OTP and synchronously log in to the banking applications. If it's a good banking app, it's obviously they'll do multi-factor authentication, but again, your phone is more or less what you trust. So if other people are able to hijack your phone, then you're left a little bit. You're left opened.
Yeah. For some of our users who are probably new to security, they might be hearing OTP and what have you. The bottom line is, if you're not careful, if you have teapot right there on your phone, the only thing you can do is to lose your money. Period. There's nothing else. You are going to lose your bank details. You are going to lose your money. So it's something that we need to do. You need to look at properly and be careful that some of these apps are masquerading as DHL app, UPS app. Please just be careful. Watch beneath, especially Android guys. Just watch beneath the app and see that it's actually coming from UPS. If you see that the app is not coming from the provider, it's coming from a different name, do not click install. If you have clicked install mistakenly, remove, format your phone, or even buy another one just to be safe.
Yep.
Okay.
So
now we're going to the hot topics.
Yeah, this is the hot one. This is the hot one that we all wait for. This is where we have a deep dive discussion into what we think is hot for the month of May. So
I'll start. Yeah, that is on my favorite kind of people in the US is CISA.
All right, that's the cyber security infrastructure and security agency for everybody just to be aware.
Good. So I love when they are being proactive these days, and whether you like it or not, there has been a lot of things that have happened in the last few months or in a year. So they are very proactive. So they've used superior power to contact US companies vulnerable to hacking. So now they are being proactive. So they are saying, yes, we would contact you whether to your internet provider or directly to you, and says, guess what? Your software or a particular software you use or your environment is vulnerable to hacking. That is the best way. So it's an authority of Homeland Security, cybersecurity team that are also part of the Infrastructure Security Agency. So which they have.
So this is interesting. This is very interesting because it means right now they don't need to wait for the service providers or anyone to report a breach to the customer. They just directly let the customer know that the data you put in this data center or your information that you place there or whatever interception they have, they can tell the people your data was among these that were compromised straight away. So it's not just left up to the service providers this time.
Absolutely.
They have the power to actually. Okay, that's
absolutely
a new one. Oh.
Yeah. Also, the good thing is they're also able to proactively warn as well. So which is good. UK is also trying to do almost the same thing with NCSC. So they call it NCSC Warning Services. Almost the same thing. But the UK one is more subtle. Companies enroll, and based on that, once they enroll, they contact them directly that you might be vulnerable to this. There's some activity that might affect you negatively, which is beautiful. I think this is something that we should emulate in West Africa, in East Africa, in South Africa, in Central Africa, whatever union that we have. We need to emulate such a culture like this, in which now the key government agency is taking on the role.
I think there's actually I was reading somewhere in the papers. I think it was a Nigerian body, which is NIDA, stands for National Information Technology Development Agency in Nigeria, which actually is part of the federal government agency in Nigeria. And they provided they did a publication warning citizens about crypto virus. I think it was
Fantastic.
IGPM, that and malware and viruses, that this thing is occurring or is going to occur within the country. So it's a proactive measure.
Fantastic.
I would like to see more joint African collaboration. There are, well, again, not like we know everything that is happening in Africa, but whenever we see something positive, we try to highlight it and give compliment and kudos to whoever is doing it. I also know about the Nigerian. You heard about the Nigerian is it the cybersecurity policy? It's but it's an interest. Yeah, so it's an interesting one. I'm still reading it, and once we read it up, we'll definitely have a discussion about that policy on this series.
Absolutely.
So
another good news for Africa, based on what you've mentioned with NIDA trying to warn everybody against the malware, also is the UK foreign secretary, British foreign secretary, announcing that they are going to give a minimum of £3 million to fight cybersecurity in Africa. This is also a kind of collaboration that they have. Said, if I quote Mr. Dominic Raab directly, said we're working with like-minded partners to make sure that the international order to govern cyber activity is fit for purpose. That is brilliant. I love that. So out of this, the $3 million to set up Interpol office that will work from Ethiopia to Ghana to Kenya to Nigeria, Rwanda. This will create a regional strategy. So talk about the role of CISA. This might probably be the same thing. So they're going to strengthen cyber security and help to reduce cybercrime in Africa. And I think that is wonderful.
Those are the good news. So let's see if we can go to not bad news, but some worrying aspect from a cyber security arena. So you heard about the cyber attack that shut down the U.S. pipeline. Wow, that's
Colonial pipeline.
That's some scary thing, because you saw what happened. The all Americans were starting to get gas. It's like, hey, are we in America? Or are we somewhere else? So it was interesting. It was interesting, and the fact that the organizations themselves is not an organization that would have taken security seriously, because they did not see themselves as a target. They did not see themselves as a security conscious or security need for them to take information cybersecurity seriously. But what the attackers are there to do is to disrupt any business and your way of doing business. So just stopping the pipeline affected millions of people. But the organizations themselves, you're using technology. You should, absolutely, once you're using technology, you should have that mindset that you need to take security seriously, generally, full stop.
If you know, you know. The dark side guys that actually compromised and extorted, I think Bullock Pipeline paid between $4 to $5 million.
Wow.
According to the news, but the dark side also got a hit for it. Now their community is shut down. Their community is shut down.
You never shut down the old dark community. Exactly. One, but it's another one will spring.
They've gone to Dodge. They made enough money, so they've gone to Dodge for a while. See you in the next episode. We might be coming back, but
So
that we need to watch out.
People will be asking us, so what can they do? What is the best thing to ensure? So and I think we'll give like a top 10 services that should not be exposed to the internet directly.
Absolutely.
I think we should just like, some of them are known, some of them are general, and I think for me, I would say like 3 that I know off the top of my head is: do not allow remote access services like the RDP, VNC, or Team Viewer direct access without even authenticating, right? Ensure that insecure file sharing, Exchange servers, that's locked down. Third, definitely all unpatched systems are vulnerable to public exploits. So look at the gas pipeline. Trust me, they either used a service that has not been patched for a while, or any attack that is able to compromise your network via patch means that you did not patch. Means that your device that is facing the internet is vulnerable and you did not patch it to the latest patch. That's why we always say patch management is a necessity.
Yeah.
Do you have any other ones?
Yeah. I'll quickly run through the other ones. Part of what we realize also is immediately you can see, like, it seems the hackers are running scan across the internet every 5 minutes. So there's no time to waste. So some of the other services, apart from what Babs have mentioned, when he mentioned vulnerable or unpatched system, some systems you cannot even patch them anymore, which are end of life systems. So you have a lot of that, and you have a lot of that even in the industry, in the industrial systems. A lot of them are still running, whether I like it or not. Windows 2000, Windows XP, because of the critical need for those of things. So keep them away from the internet, not to have. Admin system porters, IT admins, I know we're working remotely, but keep them away. You have business operation systems like Grafana, the SIEM, the Jenkins, or you even have Tableau. Tableau is used for reporting. Yeah, it's just keep some of those things. So business operations, of course, you have reporting system. Management needs to see reports like Tableau, like Oracle, business intelligence, like Analytica, a lot of those things. Keep them away from, find a secure way to publish them, not directly on the internet. If you like, put web application firewall in front of them. Unencrypted login, completely. Anything that is not secure, even services like Telnet, please. I don't even want to think about it that someone's still using Telnet, but we find it. SMTP for all you care. Yeah, please. FTP. Remove FTP and put SFTP.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. IoT services. IoT services are common. You have all the cameras, all the data center cameras, all the office cameras. Because everybody's working remotely now, security professionals need to check again if the access of these devices have not been changed. Yep. Even in the house, we have a lot of IoT, the doors, the cameras. Put another router in between that and your maybe provider router. Just make sure they are not directly exposed to the internet. And then weak and insecure crypto. Yeah. Some of those sources we have encryption, but some of them are so weak. Some of them are using old ones.
And I'll advise users here, like sometimes you don't need to imagine or take on crypto keys that you don't know. The NIST is out there. You can Google the best crypto keys, the strength of the crypto keys to use within the organization, or any service you're offering. So don't just choose what's out there. Do a bit of research, do a bit of reading. It's not that hard to find out which keys, which AES keys, or which keys that are good for your application or for your service that you're rendering. Because once your keys are weak, and like I said earlier in the talk, once your keys are weak and your keys are compromised, your application are compromised, and if your application is linked to your organization's infrastructure, your organization is compromised. So you look at everything as a chain. When one chain gets broken, it affects the entire chain. And this is very critical.
Yeah. So another thing is, please, if you have not removed Adobe Flash, it's already end of life. It's done till. Any of the application that is still running Adobe Flash, come on, guys. Please remove it, change the application, decommission the application, even if it's legacy application, bring them to the backwards. Don't allow this to be exposed to the internet.
There's one I think we missed from a development perspective.
I wanted to talk about that. Go ahead.
Which is that never expose your development infrastructure, because there's a willingness of not wanting to secure your development infrastructure. And the fact that you're not willing to secure your development infrastructure, there's no need to expose your development infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And there's one thing I always tell people: what you do in development stays in development.
And
test. Because most people tend to think, oh, it's development. Oh, we can just, copy the same thing or let it be like production. No. Your live data should not be in your development environment or your test environment. And if you have to put in your test environment or develop, it should be clean, as in you are not able to identify the data from the production data. In fact, I would say point blank, do not take production data, make another data. Do not take production data and put in development or test environment. Always segregate and separate those two infrastructures. And moreover, never expose your test or your development environment to the internet, basically.
Absolutely. So if you must take some subset of your data from the production environment to development environment, at least you use a method that we call masking. Mask those data, because all you needed is structure, the structure of what you have in the production environment. So use the max data instead.
Okay. And maybe one last thing, which will be like our final one before we all drop off, is we end on a good note. We don't want to make sure everything we say is good and bad and we say goodbye. We move on a good note. The FBI is currently sharing all compromised password with Have I Been Pwned. We talked about Have I Been Pwned in one of our series, where you'll be able to put your email address or any other address you have and be able to know whether or not your password is exposed, which makes sure that you're able to change those passwords to something stronger. So the FBI has started, whenever the FBI does an investigation or sees any compromised password, they are now going to be sharing it now with the Pwn website, which means you have a more bigger compromised pool. We don't want it to be bigger, but we all know there's definitely more passwords out there that
already is bigger. And if FBI is sharing it, is a lot. And part of the very good thing about this is even the creator of Have I Been Pwned, which is Trojan, have even made that password services open source. Has made the code open source now. So one thing that will help both the user and the enterprise is, once you type in your password or a particular password you even want to use, let's even believe that your password was not compromised. You're about to use a particular password. If you type it into this field, it's going to tell you how many of those passwords have been compromised before.
Exactly. And that will help with help with you ensuring that all your accounts are more secure. And I kind of use the Google Password Manager, which I think is quite good. But if that gets ever get compromised, that would be a big one.
Yeah. So you can imagine a lot of people's passwords in the world have been compromised. And if you look at the trend of most common password, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see monkey. You see some other things. You see even password. So sometimes this also can help the administrators. So the administrators can actually go on here and type a particular password and see how many of that is probably linked to his own organization using the API. so we can like, all these guys in my organization, their password has been compromised from different things. So it can help in the campaign. It can help to also do mass password resets as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of good note on this, and that is why Babs have also mentioned that is also on the good note. Yeah. And the last thing I'm also going to mention, jumping in from this, I don't know if you have something to say about it.
No. Oh, this one, the one in the. Oh, okay. Which one?
Yeah. So there's a warning out there that we just thought it's also very good as a closing remark. Microsoft have released a big warning that the same hacker group that are called the Lobelian, the hacker known for the SolarWind hacks, have also launched a big campaign of malware in which they have compromised non-governmental organizations, what you call NGOs. So they have gone to compromise NGOs and get contacts from NGOs. So, for example, USAID and Co., they've got almost like 3,000 end users, and they're blasting emails across the world. Once you click on the link in that email, automatically malware is downloaded on your system, on your environment. And from there, it laterally connects to all your devices. So Microsoft have released this. I make a big shout like 2 days ago on the 20th that please be aware that this is happening. Do not click on any links that you suspect or is not coming from the email or is coming now from most of the NGOs. You need to probably do a little bit of verification before you do that. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to end this series for today. Viewers, please take note. Do not click on anything. Don't trust. No before you click. On this note, we would like to end the series. Again, we'd like to thank all our viewers. Please subscribe to the button if it's there. Just subscribe to the button and let us know what you think. You can always email us at juteam@justunsecure.com. You can follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, Just Unsecure, and our LinkedIn page where we professionally just talk to everyone within the group, Just Unsecure. Again, have I missed anything?
I think you missed one thing. Just to say, catch you guys next week or 2 weeks when we give you fresh news.
Fresh news always coming up. And stay tuned. We have lots of guests that, you guys would want to listen to. Thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye.